afternoon. Don Tinicari, I'm the manager of hockey communications and broadcast with the Regina Pats. I'd like to personally thank all of our media members for coming out today and joining us for a very, very exciting and special hockey announcement. We will get to questions later on, but first we're going to go throughout the whole table and we'll have some opening comments to start. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce our CEO, Gord Pritchard, as he will open things off.
Thank you, Dante, and welcome everyone, and thank you for coming today. This is an important and exciting day for our organization, and as Dante alluded to, we're here to announce our hockey operations personnel for the 2024-2025 season. A lot of time and effort has gone into this process, and we believe we've put together an excellent staff to lead our team. I'd like to thank Alan Miller for his efforts throughout this process. He's put a lot of time and effort into this, and I believe he's put together a great staff to move us forward. I'm excited about training camp starting in a few weeks here, and really can't wait to get started again. I'd also like to thank Sean Semple and our entire ownership group for their support of our vision and where we are taking this hockey operations department. I will turn it over to our VP of Hockey Operations and General Manager, Alan Miller. Alan.
Great, thanks, Pritch. Appreciate that. And first off, I'd just like to acknowledge Tanner Howe is currently at the Canada's National Junior Team Camp in Windsor and Plymouth, and wish him the best in his goal to play on the national junior team in Ottawa this Christmas. And Cole Temple is in the middle of the Alinka Gretzky Under-18 selection camp in Calgary. And we wish Cole the best in his opportunity to earn a spot on that club as well. I'd like to thank everybody for being here today in the middle of the summer, and look forward to our announcements and moving forward with our new group here. It was just a little bit over a year ago that we met in the transition of John Paddock's retirement and me taking over the manager's position with the Regina Pats. As the year went on, we certainly saw a transition year both on and off the ice for the hockey club. And part of what I was tasked with during my first year here was a full evaluation of the hockey operations department, and was able to do that, and as part of that have made a number of changes within that group. Certainly tough decisions both on and off the ice. During the season and the end of season. The transition on the ice at last year's trade deadline with the significant moves, adding young players, adding draft picks was an important part of the process of where we're going and how we're building. And then certainly there was decisions at the end of the season. We did not renew the contract of assistant coach Evan McFeeters. Same with goalie coach Daniel Wapple. And Andrew Kutnikoff, our athletic therapist, left the club for family reasons. And we've gone through significant change within our scouting staff, a complete restructuring of our scouting staff and how we want to evaluate and draft. There's a number of scouts not returning, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into the role of our head scout and our assistant general manager. As part of the transition, had to evaluate our coaching staff, and we moved forward on new contracts for head coach Brad Haroff, assistant coach Ken Snyder, the return of manager of hockey operations Tristan Fry, and extended contract for equipment manager Gord Cochran. So our off season, with a goal in mind in terms of best in class and looking for the best people, we began a search for an assistant general manager, a head scout, an assistant or associate head coach, a goalie coach, and an athletic therapist. And today we filled all 5 of those spots and completed our hockey operations staff for the 24-25 season and moving forward. So first off, I'm pleased to announce that Cole Stevens is our new athletic therapist. Cole is an Amherst, Nova Scotia native. Most recently worked in the Toronto Maple Leafs organization as the head athletic therapist with the Newfoundland Growlers in the ECHL. Cole very much impressed our group through the process, especially around the areas what's most important in terms of athlete care. He came highly recommended by the Leafs for this opportunity. I think a lot of you in the game would know that Newfoundland disbanded their organization late in the season. And so Cole and his girlfriend Hannah will be making the move here to Regina from Amherst early in August here, and we welcome Cole and Hannah to the Pats Hockey Club. Secondly, I'm extremely pleased to announce that alumnus Max Paddock is returning to the hockey club as our new goalie coach. Max, obviously his career with the Pats, the Memorial Cup, played with the Raiders, used his WHL scholarship to continue to play hockey and volleyball at a high level. Through our process, it was evident that Max is a student of the game, student of the position. He'll relate very well to our players, the age of our players, and those playing the position, the intricacies, both, on and off the ice, mental preparation, focus on the ice, all those things around goaltending. And while Max is a young guy, does have some experience in the Brandon area working with a number of goaltenders and their development, our group felt that he has a very bright future in the game and a very bright future in terms of the role of a goalie coach, and we welcome Max back to the Pats. And then when we made the difficult decision to make a change to our coaching staff at the end of the season, I made it very clear, and along with Brad Haroff and Ken Snyder, that we were looking for experience. We were looking for a right-hand man to complement Brad Haroff and Ken Snyder in terms of their roles, in terms of their skill sets. And we were fortunate that a very good coach and a very good person became available. And I'm pleased to announce that Ryan Smith, formerly the head coach of the Spokane Chiefs, is our new associate head coach. Ryan has 16 years experience as a coach, both in the SJHL, the MJHL, and the WHL. I have a long relationship with Ryan, both at the WHL level, but also with Hockey Canada, working with him at the under-17 level as a coach, working with him in terms of the position he had with our Youth Olympic team last February. I believe Ryan's experience is a great fit for our team. I think he'll complement our group very, very well, and certainly like the championship experience that he brings to our club. Obviously not very dear to Pats fans and myself at the time as GM of the Warriors, but he was on the bench in 2018 when Swift Current won a WHL championship as associate coach. And then most recently in April was on the bench for Canada. In a very difficult tournament for Canada to win, not having their best players available. But him, Gardner McDougall, and Travis Crickard did a great job upsetting the U.S. in the gold medal game and winning the under-18 World Championships. So very pleased to welcome Ryan, his wife Kelly, who is here today, his son Kai, and his daughter Veda to the Pats organization. And I'll throw it over to Brad Haroff for some comments on his coaching staff.
Thanks, Al. Yeah, guys, I'm just real excited. Obviously, this is my coaching team here that we finally got to finalize. It's been a long process, something we've been waiting a long time to do, and Ryan was at the top of the list right from the very get-go. I've had the experience of coaching against him for the last 10 years. We did have some success, unlike Al, him against him in the playoffs and beat him in the Memorial Cup. I just want to put that out there. But yes, Ryan did break our hearts and beat us in Game 7 and won the championship we were unable to do. So I've always been impressed with him, and every person I've talked to always talks about how genuine and down-to-earth he was. And for me, those are all things that I've gotten to know him from afar, and then to hear it from some close personal friends of what kind of person he is that's actually worked with them. And the time I've spent with him and his family in Winnipeg so far this summer, it's real excited of how he's going to complement me and Ken. And then obviously with Max, Coach Max for a couple of years here. Always had a real good relationship with Max, even outside the game of hockey. We have more conversations about outside the game of hockey than with hockey. And I just think Al touched on a little bit. He's going to relate with our players. He's going to bring a real human aspect to our dressing room. And I think he's going to impact our our roster, not only our goalies, but our roster players all the way. And he's committed to finishing his degree in Regina here, and I just think it's a huge advantage for our goalies and for our players in general, just to have him on the ice every day with us, and just his commitment to, what Al said. We want to have the best in class the staff, and we want to have these guys, for these kids to be available to develop at the highest rate. So I'm super excited, and pass it on to Ryan.
Thanks, Brad. For me, it's I'd like to thank Sean Semple, the ownership group, Al, Pritch, Brad, Ken, Dale, getting to know everybody in the organization. It was an easy decision for me, and it's honestly, it's a privilege to coach the Regina Pats. It's a flagship organization in the CHL, and I couldn't be more proud to join. And I'm very excited for the future and the role with the team, to do whatever I can to help this team get back on top of the standings and get a championship and be on the right side of the win this time. But I also like to thank my wife Kelly, my son Kai and Veda. Without their support, I couldn't do this. We live in Manitoba, but there's only a couple guys in Winnipeg that get paid full time, so you have to look elsewhere for jobs. And like I said, when Al and Brad started calling me this offseason, it just became really clear to me and my family that this would be a great opportunity for both sides, not just us, but also the Pats. So I'd like to thank everybody involved in the process, and can't wait to get started at training camp. And I'll pass it over to Al.
Great, thanks, Smitty. Appreciate that, and welcome. I touched on significant changes to our scouting staff and our scouting structure, and what we're moving forward with is a structure that is going to be led by 2 full-time people around the areas of player personnel, player development, scouting, listing, and drafting. Position as an assistant general manager and a position as a head scout. The lifeblood of any organization is draft well and develop your players. You look at championship teams at the CHL level, 15-plus players on a championship roster on average. Come through the draft, come through the development within your own system. And, so we've decided to build a different structure, put our resources towards 2 full-time people, and complement them with some area guys in the right areas. But it'll be a much smaller group than we had. And so moving forward, the first person on the list in terms of the head scout position to complement the assistant general manager position, in my mind, was Dale McMullen. And I'm very pleased that Dale decided to stay with the club in this new structure. He enters his 13th season with the Pats. And for me, this past year was getting to know Dale was really important. I really value him as a person. I really value his work ethic, the homework he did in terms of the preparation for the draft, the relationships he builds with players, agents, and parents, I saw was very valuable to our club. And in terms of how we wanted to do things and how we wanted to move forward, he adapted extremely well. And for me, it didn't have to go into much of a search for a head scout in that position, because Dale wanted to be part of the Pats. He wanted to be part of building a championship team. And like I said, I'm very pleased that Dale committed to remain with the organization in this newly created position within this newly created structure. So, Dale, thank you. And then to complement, and our final announcement is building the structure around general manager, myself, the head scout as mentioned with Dale McMullen, and then adding an assistant general manager to the hockey club. And this was a great process, and ultimately at the end of the day, Dale Durkach was the guy and will be the new assistant general manager of the Regina Pats Hockey Club. I'd like to thank Don Waddell, the general manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets, for giving us permission to talk to Dale about this opportunity with the Pats. Dale's 13 experience as an NHL scout with Toronto and Washington, and most recently Columbus. He was under contract with Columbus, and Don Waddell was very supportive in terms of allowing us the opportunity to see if this was an opportunity that Dale was interested in. And obviously, he's here to my right, so he was quite interested, and we worked through a process and got a deal done. Actually, sitting having a beverage at the NHL draft after your last draft with Columbus, Dale signed his contract. So in this new role, I mentioned Dale's 13 years experience. Not only with his time in the NHL, he also has experience in a similar role, 6 years as Director of Player Personnel with the Prince Albert Raiders, and played a key role in building the foundation of their 2019 WHL championship team. Dale will be involved in all hockey decisions. He will lead our scouting staff. And as I went through the process, it was clear for me that he was the right guy. Passion in terms of the team, passion in terms of the city, his knowledge, experience, he's a quality person. Obviously, his history as a player. He's a Pat. And I think when Dale and I talked about the opportunity, when we talked about this position and coming to the Pats in that position, having a seat at the table in terms of the competitiveness of the wins and losses, and wanting to be part of building a championship team, he was all in. So excited to welcome Dale, his wife Maria, his sons Dale Jr., Dace. Now, I don't know how the family dynamic's going to work with Dace as a prospect to the Prince Albert Raiders now, but Dace, his other son Drake, welcome you back to the Pats, Dale, and I'll turn it over to you for some comments.
Well, thank you very much, Al. That's very nice. I want to thank, first off, the ownership group, Sean Semple, Gord Pritchard, as well as Al Miller for giving me this opportunity. Al made it hard to turn down, to be honest with you. I was very happy with Columbus, but when Al came knocking, he presented something that was very exciting, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity moving forward. I'm looking forward to, again, working with Dale McMullen. I worked 1 year for the Pats a couple of years ago, and we had a pretty good run there. I'm looking forward to working with him and the scouting staff, as well as the coaching staff. I've had many interactions with Brad and his staff, and looking forward to working with all of them. So it's very exciting times, and I'm, again, very excited to be back with the Pats, and looking forward to some great things moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Thanks, Millsy, Ryan, Brad, Pritch. Also like to make note, if anybody would like to speak with some of the other individuals, we do have Max Paddock here, as well as Dale McMullen, Ken Schneider, Tristan Fry, and can't forget about our wonderful equipment manager, Gord Cochran. So if you'd like any one-on-one interviews after, please let me know. It's now time for our Q&A session. Just please raise your hand and state your name and your affiliation, and then I will turn it over to you for questions, and we'll keep going forward with that. So I'll turn it to you guys for questions. Taylor?
Taylor Shire with the Regina Leader Post. Dale, I'll start with you. You mentioned Al made you a nice offer or a bit of a presentation. What set you over the edge to leave that job in Columbus and come here?
One, talking with Al and sitting together and just having some relaxed talk about hockey and talking about players and the vision and how we view players, evaluating players, or building a team. That was a big part, and probably the biggest part is starting the process is, if you're not in line there, working together is pretty hard. I'm not going to say we're going to agree on everything, and you shouldn't agree on everything, but for the most part, you have to have some sort of alignment in terms of how you see players and the building of a hockey team. As well, I think to work for the Pats, for me, is a big deal. How many times is this now? This is about my third or fourth time back in the organization, and yeah, it means a lot. That part, I think, means a lot to me, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the opportunity. Al last year has started a process, and he's made a lot of changes, and I think moving forward, it's pretty exciting. And for a guy who's going to be in the position I'm in, if you looked at what he's done in terms of the makeup moving forward, in terms of the draft, that's come, or the draft for the next few years coming up. It'd be pretty good to be in my position and a lot of fun. So I'm excited about that.
Far left corner.
That's if you don't trade all the picks, Dale, before you get to the draft table.
Let's hope not. Unless it's worthy, we can. Never know.
Hey, Barney Schenker at Sports Kids, Harvard Media. Al, to you, this structure with where you guys are now and just having, lack of a better term, troops, some of the smaller markets can't do it. How much of a leg up do you feel that gives you with all the experience you've had in this league over the years?
Well, I think that, I put a similar structure together in Moose Jaw, if you consider that a small market team as well. The decision to structure it this way and to hire an assistant general manager was very similar to what I did several years ago with Jason Ripplinger in Moose Jaw. So, but you do need support, and we have tremendous support from ownership, collectively from ownership to Gord Pritchard to myself. We want to do things the right way. We talked about best in class. We talked about best people. And one thing when I looked at the organization when I came in, there was healthy resources around scouting and the understanding of the importance of scouting. And you look at those resources, you look at those people, and you get a little bit creative in terms of how you see things. And we were able to put together that structure with that leadership around 2 full-time people. I'm not sure, it's going to be a lot different. It seems to be a little bit of a change in direction with some teams across the CHL and the WHL, where, there's such an importance put on scouting that having people do it 24/7 and not doing it in a volunteer part-time situation is real valuable, and that's how we wanted to build our model with that in mind and with the right people.
Brad, to you, this is obviously positive for you. I don't want to say makes it easier, just knowing that support there with Ryan coming on, just your take on that.
Yeah, well, I think I really could talk all day about Ryan, the quality of coach he is, but I think it's just when Al sat down and kind of, mapped out the plan for our team and how we're going to get to contending and then, being a championship team, this is all just part of the steps. And last year, I think he did a great job with our draft capital and our prospects. And now we moved on to our staff and making that our part of the step. And, the next time is going to be our 25-man roster. And we started that yesterday, acquiring a 20-year-old defenseman we believe is going to help us here. So, last year was rough, but it was for a purpose, and there was some development we got out of our players, and we learned a lot about each other and the staff, and the biggest thing we got in this room right now is everyone we have is 100% committed to doing this full time. And I think that's the difference in everyone that we have on the hockey staff and even into the business staff. We all want the same thing, and that's a championship, and we're all willing to put the extra time and effort into accomplishing those goals.
Taylor.
For you, Ryan, in terms of when you left Spokane, did you have options this summer, and when did that phone call from Regina come? And like I asked Dale, what made it the right move for you?
Yeah, I mean, Al called me pretty soon after what happened in Spokane, and it was nice to get that call. And like Al said, we have a bit of a relationship through our battles in Swift Current, Moose Jaw, and Hockey Canada. We've done some good things there. So just like Dale said, talking to him, I'm a value guy. I believe in values, and I think Al's values, Brad's values line up with mine, and I don't sway away from those. And that's probably what was the tipping point. I think that's important, and it's important for the players to know that, and for the team to have those values. And that's, for me, there was some other options, but nothing really made more sense than what's going on here. And it's the relationships, previous, knowing Brad, like he said, coaching against him, knowing Pritch, bumping into him, knowing Hooner, playing against Max, just these things made so much sense. And I believe in what we're doing here. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's exciting, and I can't wait to get started.
Over here on the right.
Antoine Peugeot-Chavez, I'm with Radio Canada CBC. You're talking a lot about building a new structure, long-term and everything, and with draft picks. And what's the objective for the upcoming season right now, for short term?
Well, you know, I talked at the end of the season about, essentially about two steps. First step is to get competitive again, and then the next step is to become a contender. You can't do one without the other. So when I talk about being competitive, I talk about being a playoff team and growing from there. Culture and environment are important to all the people at this table and in the room with our hockey club. And so that culture of winning and pushing that envelope to be a competitive team is important for us, and it's important in this upcoming season. You know, we're certainly going to have an eye on what's best for the hockey club now and in the future. I'm responsible for the big picture of the club, and the big picture for me is winning a championship. But there's a process to that, and so we want to continue to build our team. We want to continue to get young players into our lineup. We want to continue to make sure we have a right development model around our young players and all our players getting better. But we want to be a competitive team this year. We want to be a playoff team, and that's what we're working towards.
Barney in the left.
Hey, Al, like late '90s, Guelph to now, like how much, you talk about young and that capital, and we're looking at kids at 13, 14, as Dale knows. How much has that changed the game for you? Obviously, you've evolved to it, but now we're looking so young, where maybe in the past, was it looking at experienced guys to come in for a couple of years?
So you had to tell the group I was a GM in the late '90s? So I guess the white beard and the bald head can tell you that. I think that you know, you have to make smart decisions, and you have to, you know, one thing again that I think collectively we're responsible for is, you know, knowing where your team is at and where you want to go. You have to make difficult decisions. You know, this past year, you know, we traded, you know, our three best players. Stützle wasn't with us, but Brad mentioned doing it with a purpose. And so, you know, we want to complement the group with some experience like we did with Babcock. There may be other changes where we want to complement our group with different types of players or different experience. We need certain players to step up in certain areas to allow us to achieve our goals. I don't think it's any any question in anybody's mind. We need better goaltending. That's a starting point for us. We believe Ewan Huey can do that in his second year. A lot of import players take that step in their second year, but there are other players that we need to step up. But you know, we're going to complement our group wisely. We're going to complement our group reasonably, and try to improve every day. But we're going to have a vision, and we're going to have our eyes set on where we're going to be 2-3 years down the road. There's only one goal by this group, everybody wearing this polo here today, and that's to win a WHL championship and a Memorial Cup. And every decision we've made with this group, every decision we're going to make moving forward is with that goal in mind.
Donovan?
I guess on that note, you talk about, the balance between, developing your team and building through the draft, but unlike in pro hockey, these players aren't going to be with you for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They're only with you for a short stint. So I guess how do you balance that with looking to the future 2-3 years down the road, but at the same time still trying to put a quality product on the ice, this upcoming season?
Well, every decision we make, every player we sign, every draft pick we trade or acquire, every player we trade or acquire, we map it out through a 4 or 5 year plan. So yeah, you have to understand the tenure of your players. You have to understand the age group of your players. You have to understand the balance of the age group of your players. And again, those dictate at times dictate decisions that you make. So, there's certainly a balance in terms of being competitive and at the same time, as I've mentioned, having that eye on the future and sometimes, and I'm not, I probably say this more based on last year and then moving forward. I want to say that, as a manager at this level, sometimes you have to understand you're not good enough. And you have to make the decisions around not being good enough. And where do you want to go? Again, nobody here wants to just get by. Nobody wants to battle for the 7th or 8th playoff spot and just get in and losing 4 or 5 games to a top team. We want to build it the right way. We want to be as competitive as we can and have that eye on, again, winning a championship.
I guess for Brad, similar question. Obviously, a good starting point, a good building point from last year. You mentioned, getting younger players into the lineup late last year. But how now do you kind of build on what you saw last year out of that kind of development piece, and then also at the same time looking down the road to, hey, maybe it's not this year, but it's 2 or 3 years down the road?
Well, the 2 or 3 years down the road, I think, is something, I leave to Al and Dale to sort that out for us. We got a big enough problem with the 25 guys that we got to develop every single day that are in our roster, in our dressing room every day. So for me, we talked about the start of the year, we're returning 90% of our roster that we ended our last game with. It's going to be a huge boost into what we have and our learning curve going into this year. And I think you guys alluded to it before. We need some players internally to step up, and we believe these guys can step up. It's a 19, 20-year-old league. You've seen Parker Berg, what he did last year in this league and got himself a contract. There's a lot of those guys that get better at 19 and 20, and we got a group here that we believe in. Kids that I really believe in. They just need to put the work in this summer. And as a staff, what we're doing here, our expectations are raising, and some guys, there are going to be some difficult decisions, but we believe in the end, with us raising the bar, we're going to raise the development and raise the execution of our players.
Question on the middle right.
You bring obviously experience with your acquisition, but you're obviously also a club legend. You were talking about building with the players we have. Is it the objective to push on the winning mentality with your experience, so someone players can talk to build a good winning structure?
Well, I think everybody that's involved with the organization is probably going to be involved with wanting to talk to the players, on a day-to-day basis if that's needed, and try to get, relationships with each and every one of them. I think in the end, the players will have to play and do what they need to do, but you can obviously take your time out to give pointers, offer your experience. But bottom line, you want them to feel good to be able to perform. People who feel comfortable and good in terms of they feel like they're part of the group or part of the organization, I think they will perform. And when you're feeling comfortable and able to perform and confident, you usually get good things out of people. But in the end, talking's just talk. It's got to happen on the ice. So I'm sure that the coaching staff will take care of that part.
Anything else?
Yeah, one more here.
Donovan?
That's okay. I guess just for Ryan, is probably the one guy who hasn't been in the Regina Pats organization out of everybody else in this room before. So I guess for you, just maybe talk about what it means to be with the Pats, obviously, and their story history and all that.
Yeah, it's, like I said, for me, the word privilege comes to mind right away. I grew up in Manitoba and, with the Wheat Kings and the Pats, and it's as a young kid, these are the teams you followed. We've all alluded, I've been on the other side of the battles, and some of the best hockey that I've played, even when I was a player or coached, or those games against Regina, in 2016, 17, 18, and Moose Jaw as well. I mean, we talked about that briefly yesterday. Those 3 teams were, they were as good as they come in junior hockey. And, to join the Pats now, kind of at the ground floor of where we want to go. It's exciting, and like everybody said, it's going to take some time and some patience. Not every day is going to be, those days of the 2016, 17. We will, but we will get there with the group we have here at this table, the guys that are in the room, and the players. And that for me is, like we're in a hockey business, and we've got hockey guys here, and we will do our best as a group to give the players everything they need. And it's about the players. It'll always be about the players. And I think we have the group here, with the staff here, that will give them all the tools, and they'll take that to the next level. And like I said, it's, for me personally, your question, it's a privilege, it's an honor. I'm looking forward to that first game in the Brand Center.
Sorry, one more, Dante. For Al, on that note, you mentioned the word patience, and fans in this town, they're passionate, but for the last couple of years, I think they also haven't shown a ton of patience, and that's kind of shown through numbers at the Brand Center. So I guess message to fans as you guys kind of go through this kind of rebuilding kind of part of the Regina Pats franchise, and message for them so that, hey, this is a good reason to come to the Brand Center this year.
Yeah, and I hope that, I hope our fans are excited about what they've heard here today in terms of the commitment that's been made to improve our hockey club significantly off the ice, when we have to show it on the ice. From our Pritch and our front office team to everybody here, tremendous respect for the fan base here, the passion they have for the club. We look forward to rewarding them with the on-ice product that they deserve, a contending championship competitive team. We look forward to I've seen the Brand Center full and the excitement that is in that building. And I guess 3 words I would say to answer your question with a message to the fans would be, trust the process, and we'll get there.
All right, thank you, Al. At this time, I'd like everybody that is here at the table to come forward, as we will take time for a photo opportunity.
Yep. Want us in front for a picture?
Yeah, everybody was here. Yep.
Anyone would like any individual photos, please let me know. Okay, thank you very much for coming. Thanks, everyone.